Like Mr. Costa said, last time was 2004 at this very stage. And I remember it was the Ministry of Telecommunication who opened up the conference, and I came as number 2. And it's almost the same setup today. I think you have a different Minister of Telecommunication, though. It's a big change we're going through in this society right now, when we're going and everything is being connected, both as individuals and as companies. And I'll be happy to share some of those insights from the network society today. So what is the first thing you do when you get up in the morning? And I think I need some remote assistance here with clicking, so when I do like this. There we go. Well, the first thing you do is, of course, you turn off your alarm in your alarm clock, which is now in the phone. Then you check your Facebook account. 1 in 5 smartphone owners today actually do this, according to our Consumer Lab research and what we see. And then you get out of bed. Seems like the remote is working every once in a while in this connected society. I do have an app on my phone, but I wouldn't want to dare that with this PC. But let's, when I do like this, we can switch slides, right? Then I get out of bed. So now I'm out of bed. And if you just look back, I mean, I was here 8 years ago, but just let's look back 4 years ago. This is what it looks 4 years ago. From 4 billion subscribers to over 6 billion subscribers, 6.3 today. It was mainly a voice channel we were talking about, and now it's a dominant data channel in the mobile networks. And we're looking at smartphones growing. We can see apps. 4 years ago, they didn't exist. And now we have over 35 billion apps downloaded. Tremendous change, and we're actually changing as individuals. We're now becoming dependent on these smartphones for daily tasks all throughout the day, and we can see that in the statistics of where, when we're using our smartphones. It's even all through the day. And if you compare this to the fixed broadband, how that is used, it's not as flat as this. So we're changing as individuals. And we have a vision in Ericsson, and we're seeing we're heading towards 50 billion connected devices in 2020, out of which 15 billion would be video enabled. That's a huge change. And like our CEO is saying anything that would benefit from a connection would be connected. But now it works. It really works. You want to, yeah, all right, okay. Now we'll see what happens with this one. All right, so I'll come back to this, what this could mean, because it's a little bit difficult. It's not only that we're connecting our personal devices for convenience, like cameras or game consoles or what have we. We can also see vertical industries, obviously, being connected today. And not only that, we're also seeing that now we have devices started to talk to devices. So we have more of a connected network. But let's look at a vertical. One vertical that has been connected is Maersk. If you're familiar with the shipping company Maersk, they now have mobile coverage on their fleets, and drastically improving logistics, fuel consumption, etc. One of the things that I learned is that bananas, when they hit the shelves in the store, they should be ripe. They should be perfect. Every banana container has control equipment for oxygen. So when you load the bananas on the boat, they're normally green. And then you control the rate with which they become yellow with the amount of oxygen. And now with the logistics, you can tell that these bananas are going to be on the shelves 3.5 days from now, and they're too green. So let's add some more oxygen. And you can do this from a central place. Now, it changes the way we actually do business quite a lot. If we take a step even further, and let's say you have devices connected to devices, maybe not bananas to the bananas, but devices connected to devices. We seem to have a little bit of difficulty understanding what would that mean. We have tried several concepts, and when we start thinking about our devices as friends, then we can see them as friends on maybe a social network. And then we understand that, well, friends, they can talk to friends. Of course, I talk to my friends, but the friends talk to friends. And then things start to happen. Then we start seeing the opportunities. We've done a number of films for this subject. This is one film we can play. Make sense? It's a little bit easier to see a little bit in the future when you start seeing the devices talking to each other and helping you out, actually. Lots on that subject. But basically, we can say we're really now on top of it. When you're sitting with your tablet or with your smartphone, and you can see the effects of reducing the temperature in your house by 2 degrees. So what would that do to your utility bill? You can immediately see that. What would that do to the planet? Let's say 1 month you have a little bit of a budget constraint, so you cannot afford more than 100 euros on the utility bill for that month. Well, then you can tell that, you know, I only have 100 euros this month for utilities. Can you please take care of that for me? And in the future, that will be possible. We've seen when we have gamification in this area, where we have people competing with different apps and how much power they can save at home or in the apartments or so, we've seen power reductions and power savings about 40 to 50%. So putting the consumers or the business users in control has a great potential. We can see right now that we're, last year I think we had 700 million smartphones on the planet. We're heading towards 2017 and about 3 billion smartphones, a number of users, and the data is really growing in the networks. If we compare the second quarter this year with the second quarter last year, we can see a doubling of data traffic in the networks. And back in Q4 2009 was the first time actually that the data traffic exceeded voice traffic in the mobile networks. Big change. And if we take that, and we can see that around 2017 we'll have about 15 times the data traffic, mainly driven by video. And this will vary from device and from markets, but average 8 gigabytes on a PC, 3.2 on a tablet, and 1 or so on a smartphone. However, already today, I think in Korea we're at 2 gigabytes per Android smartphone, and in the US, I believe we are at about 3 gigabytes per Android smartphone. So it is actually growing, and it's happening this way. And then we come into a dilemma. What is 2 gigabytes? Right? So what is 2 gigabytes? Well, it's 14 million SMSs, 1.5 million emails, 1,000 photos, 48 hours of standard definition, some game clients, and 8 minutes of high-definition film. So clearly there is a need, if you look into the networks, mobile networks, of some maybe quality selections. Maybe you have a way of selecting your particular service portfolio. If you are a music fan, maybe Spotify or FM Anywhere is a service that you use a lot, and then you can have that as unlimited and pay for other things. Maybe you save the full high-definition film for special moments, and you pay a little extra, and you settle for standard definition. You can look at utilization of the network. What would you do with the network when it's not fully utilized? Well, maybe you can offer dynamic discounting and offer lower rates to fill out and make sure you really utilize the network, like you would do with any hotel or any apartment complex or any airplane with airplane seats. A lot of ways we can actually use the networks in more ways than we're doing today. Let's see a show of hands. How many of you here have a smartphone? Hands up. How many of you have a smartphone? There's a few that does not have a smartphone. Keep the hands up. Keep them up. Keep them up. How many of you had any kind of problem with your smartphone last week? Keep your hands up. Yeah, I would say probably half, which is pretty much the answer that our surveys are telling us. Half of smartphone users have problems and experience problems regularly. And if you look at where the problems are coming from, of course, you have network quality and network speed coming up very high, clarity of voice calls. But look at the other things there. We have price plan, customer care, data allowance, and content and apps, very high on the list as well. And if you look into that and you see what really gives a good user experience or customer experience, is actually putting me, the consumer or the business user, in control. If you let me manage my subscriptions and say, what do I want to have, how many devices, I can add, I can subtract, I can maybe select certain services that I am really a fan of. Proactive offers from operators. Maybe one operator would tell me, hey Kurt, we can see you making this phone, calling these 2 people quite often. You know, if you would take a family plan, you would save 10 euros per month. Now that sounds strange. Why would an operator tell me that, right? No, but actually some do. And if of course I get an offer like that, I'd be happy to sign up for maybe 24 months. And that's a good business case. So putting me, the consumer or business user, in control, treating me like a VIP, we see that is really a success factor in this network society. You need to pay attention to the user experience. It's vital. I'll come back to that as well. I mentioned that the data traffic in the networks will be mainly driven by video. Well, so let's look at a quick snapshot on multi-screen behavior. We see already now we have 40% the people using devices to watch TV. While we're watching traditional TV, 60% of us is actually doing something else at the same time. Social networks, sharing, talking, communicating with friends. And the interesting thing is that it doesn't seem like we're watching less TV. On the contrary, the multi-screen TV environment actually makes us watch even more traditional TV. So this is probably a trend that will continue. Mobile commerce. I understand you don't have much of that here in Greece. Today in many places around the world, you get salary on your mobile account, you pay bills, you pay things, you can transfer money. That is already there. Well, we have an American ambassador here, so I couldn't resist. In the US, it's more on convenience, I think, at least in Texas. And this is a key thing. You know, if you want to pay something with your mobile, it should not be more complicated than paying with normal money or a credit card. If you make it more complicated, it most likely won't work. But if you make it easy, things will start working pretty much by themselves. And if you look in Tanzania, 13% of the payments are done with using the mobile phone. 13%, that's quite a bit. And this electricity box is charged from the mobile and paid by the mobile. If you look at some of the industries going across, you have the buses in Brazil, in Curitiba, there was a trial, and they have digital time schedules. They have digital ticketing, electronic tickets. They have a more safe environment for the bus drivers, and they're lowering their emissions big time. What if we spread this across the globe in more places? What would that do to the planet? I already mentioned Maersk. Look at the power grids. Smart power grids. If I would have an electric car, I could tell the smart power grid that at 7:30 in the morning, I would be going to work. I'll be driving for 45 minutes. Please have it charged. And of course, the system will charge it up. And it would know that at 5 o'clock, I would leave for home. There's another 45-minute drive. And if the power grid would see that there is a need for more power during the peak hours of the day, it would charge my car up more than the 45-minute taken to go to work. Charge it up more, and during the day, it will use my car as a power source to even out the peak loads. Now, these kind of things is possible when you have smart networked devices in a society. There's so many ideas, and I can spend days and hours on this. This is some figures from the Ericsson Traffic and Market Report, and we do this together with several partners. And basically it is saying that when you double the broadband speed in a country, you increase GDP by 0.3%. If you increase the broadband penetration in the country, for every 10% of increase of broadband penetration, we see 1.2% increase in GDP. It used to be 1%, the latest figure is now 1.2% increase in GDP. So there's a tremendous spin-off from doing these things. This is a study actually made in 33 major cities in the OECD area. And Athens was actually part of this. It's not here on the list, but if you look here, I'm sure you cannot maybe read at the end, but around here you have Istanbul, and right at the top you have Buenos Aires. Right between here is where you have Athens today. So you're on a good track. You know, if you want to succeed here in this way, I mentioned a few things, but one of the key things that I believe so much in and that we've seen the effects of is really focusing on the user experience. And keeping the user experience in the center rather than starting with technology or a business plan only normally pays off. And there are professors around universities in the world who measure the maturity level of companies, different companies, in terms of their engagement with user experience way of working. And in the first 3 steps, it exists, but not that strong. You mainly start from a technology angle in the first steps. When you come to the higher steps in the ladder, you more start from the user experience perspective when you're going to design a service or a product. And then you look at the systems. How can you put together the systems to provide even better conditions for a better user experience? And then at the very end, which technology would I use to get most for the money? And it's a little bit of a different way of operating. And of course, successful over-the-top players are on the upper stairs in this diagram. And these professors, they agree and disagree on many things. There is an 8-step model, and we tend to look at the 6-step. But one thing they agree on is that they have still not found one single company on this planet who've been able to take more than 1 step per year in this maturity matrix. So it's a big change if you're working in the lower areas and you're competing with somebody in the upper areas. We have some internal questions that we ask that we see is helpful quite a bit. First is vision. What will your experience look like 5 years from now? Is that too long? How about 2 years from now? And it's good to have that as a target, as a vision, to have the teams focus on what is important. Second, feedback. You know, it tells you so much more if you observe somebody using your product than if you use it yourself. You learn a lot more watching somebody else use your service and product than using it yourself. And how about, have you watched a consumer or business user use a competitor's product? It's really revealing when you sit there. Culture. You know, you really want to encourage people finding out early with real user feedback in early mock-ups, you know, early prototypes. It could be with paper and pen, and you can still find out if this service will work or not. And here is the culture issue. Would you, if I tell you, well, thank you, Kurt, let's go with this idea. Here is 50,000 euro. Let's try it out. And then I come to you and I tell you, you know, it didn't work. It probably will never work. I was convinced, and as well as you were convinced, but it never took off. So we wasted 50,000 euro. What will you do? What do you feel about me now? Fire me immediately. Exactly. No, but so that's the thing, you know. It takes strength, it takes guts to come up in an early stage and say that this probably will not work. You know, in many cases, you continue the development, and a year or two later, you go into the wall and you wasted millions maybe. So this kind of way of thinking in this network society, we think actually pays off quite well. At least that's what we have seen. So there you are at home, and you go to bed, you set the alarm, then you check your Facebook account. And again, 1 in 5 of the smartphone users around the planet do this. And then you go to sleep. And rest assured, the world is changing fast, and we have a unique opportunity now, both as individuals and as companies, to make this planet a better place. Thank you very much.